Bosai, we're trying to figure out when exactly did they organize this Seudas Ebur HaChodesh. Was it on the 31st, meaning it was after already the 30th day, going into the 31st? And that's the impression you get from the Gemara itself. Let's read it again, the Gemara here on Daf Ayin Amud Beis. Harabanan ein olim be'ibur hachodesh pachos me'asar b'nei adam ein olim la el bepas dagan v'kitnios ve'ein olim la el li'ar iburo. And what's li'ar iburo? So that what's Rashi. We went through Rashi yesterday. Let's just review it. Rashi says, "Kin mefarish lekamon sheim nikbotzim asara o yosef v'olim ba'aliyah vein asifa zuel lefarsem hadavar she'ibrua v'lo la'ayev." So they're not deciding whether or not to extend the month into day 30, but they've already made that decision. They want to publicize that decision. So it's after they were ma'aber the Chodesh. They already added day 30, and now it's the night going into day 31. Kfar ma'ubar, who Rashi says. Then Rashi adds a whole piece over here. We touched on it yesterday. Daholo kidshu hayom es hachodesh. Right, today is not the day of Kiddush Hayom. Why? Because the 30th day is going to be the last day of the previous month. The Kiddush Ein Sham Biyom Mochras, and on the 31st day, there's no need for Kiddush, meaning for Bezdin to declare Mekudosh, Tani Yom Shlosh B'Echad, because the Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah Shalom B'Zmano Ein Mekachin also, meaning if you've already been ma'aber the previous month, and now we're up to day 31, then we know by definition that it is Rosh Chodesh, and there's no need for a process of Kiddush. That's called Shalom B'Zmano on day 31. The Od, the Ila Kedushay, B'Shlosha Sagi. And if anyone were to argue that this Seuda that we're learning about was for the purpose, and that's why they went up to the Aliyah, was for the purpose of deciding whether to be Makadesh the Chodesh or not, then all you would need is 3, and there's no requirement of 10. The requirement of 10 is a result of Pirsum in order to publicize the decision that's already been taken, and that's going to be on the night going into 31. And that's where we had yesterday the Shita of Rashi. Today we have the Shita of the Yad Ramah. And as I've mentioned very often, he is a classic commentary on Masechet Sanhedrin. And he writes, Vein olim el la'ar iburo. What is la'ar iburo? Leil iburo. Not the day after 30, going into 31. Tahainu motzi tisha v'esrim yom. But rather on the night after 29, going into day 30. V'chein pirush Rabbeinu Chanan. Now the Yad Ramah continues. He says, V'damya, I would compare it, he says, Lahi damrinan b'Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah, Daf Chav Beis Amud Beis, Ein masir masos el al hachodesh shenira bizmano lekadsha. Okay, so now Bezdin wants to be Makadesh the Chodesh, and then Masi and Masos, they climb onto the tops of the mountains and they light torches from one mountain to the other to pass on the word that they were Ma'aber the Chodesh. And we're talking about, says the Gemara, Chodesh Shenire Bizmano Lekadsha. So it means Nira. Nira means when they saw the new moon, it was Bismano. Bismano means on day 29. The Emas Masiim, and when do they notify and communicate through the Masos that they sanctified the new month? La'ari Buro. So what does La'ari Buro mean? Dahainu Leil Shloshim, meaning the night after 29, going into 30. So again, Rashi has this whole business on the night after 30, going into 31. He's got it on the business of the night following 29, going into 30. And he argues the Ilamot Soy Shloshim, if it's after day 30, going into 31, Lamaluhu, why would it be necessary, to go through this entire process of publicizing and communicating the Rosh Chodesh? Because automatically, day 31 would be Rosh Chodesh. There's no other possibility, and therefore there's no need to publicize it. Everybody realized. So again, let's just summarize what we have here. We have Rashi, and we have the Yad Ramah. According to Rashi, we're talking about Yom Shloshim V'Echad, right? That means Motzei Shloshim. That's according to Rashi. And according to Yad Ramah, we're talking about Leil Shloshim, which means Motzei 29, going into 30. Now, the Yad Ramah argues that if day 30 is already passed, then there's no point and no need to communicate, because by definition, day 31 has to be Rosh Chodesh. So if they weren't Makadosh the Chodesh on the 30th, which would mean that the previous month was Chaser, it was 29, then automatically the previous month became Mole. And if they weren't Makadosh day 30, now day 31 becomes the first day of the next month, Rosh Chodesh. V'chitema, v'lama lehula bure. Now you've asked me the following question. Why is it necessary for Beis Din Bichlal to add the day 30? Like it's like an active handing down of a verdict on the part of the Beis Din that day 30 is the last day of the previous month. Lola Kachua, let them do nothing on the 30th day. Umemela me'abed. I mean, until you declare the day as Rosh Chodesh, it belongs to the previous month. Excuse me for just a second. I want to shut off the heat. It's way too hot in here. I don't know where the shalat is. Oh, very good. So again, the Yad Ramah is asking the following question. Why is it necessary to add a day to the month and actively declare that the previous month is Me'ubar and has 30 days? Just let bygones be bygones. If you do nothing, then the 30th day automatically becomes the last day of the previous month, and the 31st becomes the first day of the next month, and it's Rosh Chodesh. He says, Afilu hachi, sorech l'chashev im halavona ru'uya liros b'yom shloshim imla. So they're going to send out, an investigatory team to investigate whether or not they could see the moon on day 30. Because if they see the moon on day 30, then it's already the beginning of the new month. And the previous month is Chassid. If they don't find it, then Mamela, they're not going to be Makadosh day 30, and day 30 becomes the last day of the previous month, which becomes Molech, and then the 31st automatically becomes Rosh Chodesh. The Imro L'Fiach Cheshbon, She Efshar Shetira. In other words, I guess the hour is late. So according to the Cheshbon, if the moon hasn't shown up yet, then he Efshar Shetira. We're not going to see it within the course of the day and have enough time to sanctify it as Rosh Chodesh. Is then Ma'aber also Me'ata. Now we'll determine that this last day belongs to the previous month, and the previous month is Me'ubar. V'ein tzarich l'tzapos li'edim. At that point, they made a decision. Most of day 30 has gone by. We don't anticipate Eidim coming into Bezdin. We gave them plenty of time to come if they had something to tell us, that they saw the new moon. And therefore, we're not waiting for Eidim anymore. It's too late. Let's say nightfall is at 6 p.m. Already at 5 p.m., they want to close shop. And we're not going to accept Eidim. So basically, on day 30, the Bezdin is involved actively in a process of trying to figure out whether the month is Me'ubar or not. And that would depend upon whether Eidim came, and if they did came, then the previous Chodesh is Chaser. And if they didn't come, and we'll give them an X number of hours by which they can come. If they didn't come, then the Chodesh is Me'ubar. So again, the basic concept that I understand in the Yad Ramah is that on day 30, we have to make a determination. There's a certain likelihood, a very serious possibility that Eidim will come on day 30, which would now tell me retroactively from the beginning of day 30 that day 30 really belongs to the new month. And it's not a tag along and an Ebur to the old month. But at some point on day 30, when we realize, hey, the Eidim are not coming, where are they? We're going to close shop, get ended, and we're going to consider it as a Chodesh Me'ubar.
When would that be? Would that be sometime at Shkia, before Shkia?
Before Shkia. Like, in other words, let's say after Mincha, it's already getting late, and, now we're going to start with Rosh Chodesh when most of the day has gone by. At some point, Also, it has to do, this is Gemara in Beitza, with shir. There's a special shir that the Levium would sing in honor of Rosh Chodesh. And, if the Eidim would be accepted too late in the day, then we realize that the Levium had sung the wrong song. So at some point or another, we're going to say that's if the door is closed, call it 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we're not accepting Eidim. Inami. Okay, so this is now he's getting into a lot of the nitty-gritty details of Kiddush HaChodesh. He says there might be another reason why Beis Din has to actively get involved on day 30 in the process of Ebur, meaning to determine that day 30 belongs to the previous month. Kigon shehutzruchu la'abro, there might be a pressing need to be ma'aber the month, mishum yirokos, the kayotzi. So this has to do with the agricultural cycle of the seasons. And the produce of Yerokos. The Kadka Avdi Hochi, and now we're getting together the 10 people, and we're making a Suda. We're determining that this day is a Chodesh Me'uba, belongs to the previous month. Is Avdi Hochi lePersume leMilsa? So why are we getting involved in all these dimensions of Suda, etc., is the Persume Milsa Hudika Avdi. Oh, now the Yad Ramah makes reference to Rashi. He doesn't call him by name. The Islam of Farshi, others interpret Li'ori Buro Lel Motzai Shloshim, which means the night going into 31. Not the way we said it, that it's the night going into 30. And then he says, the Eina Seifa Zula Ayin, I mean, if we're talking about getting together 10 people for a Suda on the night going into 31, then we've already determined that day 31 is going to be Rosh Chodesh. So there's no need for la'ayin. In other words, again, according to the Yad Ramah, we're dealing with day 30. On day 30, there's ma'ayin. We really have to send out, a calling. If there are any Eidim who can testify that they saw the moon b'fidusho, let them come. We're involved in figuring out whether or not day 30 is Rosh Chodesh or the previous month is Me'uba. But now we're fast forwarding to Motzei Yom Shloshim, meaning Or L'Shloshim V'Echad. So at that point, there's no there's no investigation on the part of the Beis Din, because in any event, 31, by definition, is going to be Rosh Chodesh. El lefarsev es hadover she'ibruhu, just to publicize that they already determined that there was Ebur. Below Mistab. So it comes out that according to the Yad Ramah, or Iburo means the active what's the word I'm looking for? The active judiciary process. Oh, I think I got it now. The active judiciary process is called Iburo, and that takes place on day 30. So La'ar Iburo means the night before 30. So it can't be that this is L'Pirsim Adoma. See, I'm very confused according to Yad Ramah. Why we're requiring 10 people present at this suit in order to be Mefarsan. But yet the Yad Ramah seems to assume that the word Iburo means the judiciary process, the investigations, the determination, calling upon Eidim and accepting the Eidim and deciding whether or not this day 30 is Rosh Chodesh. And if at the end of the period of time of waiting, no Eidim show up, then the Chodesh is Me'ubar. And Arli Iburo means the night going into day 30. Because the Iburo is going to take place as an active investigation of and determination of Bezdin on day 30. So La'ar Iburo is the night before the Ibur, which is the night of 29. So how do they, I'm a little confused. How do they make this Suda on the night going into 30, meaning after 29, when that day 30 is the day of the process of Ibur? How could they have made the Suda So somehow I don't have it exactly in the nuanced the technicalities of it, but somehow the Seudas Ebur of the Yad Ramah is radically different than the Seudas Ebur of Rashi, not only in terms of the date, exactly when the Suda took place, but in terms of the purpose and the goal of the Suda. Whereas Rashi has the Suda on the night going into 31, and the Ibur has already been determined, so there's no need for Iyun. And day 30, the previous day, was certainly the last day of the previous month. And the previous month is Mole, it's Me'ubar. So why are they getting together for a Suda? Rashi says, for Sume Milsa, we want to publicize that this is the day of Rosh Chodesh. But now we're going to the Yad Ramah, the Seudas Ebur is taking place on the night after 29. But how could it be a Seudas Ebur when the entire day 30 is dedicated to Iyun, to weigh back and forth and see if we have Adam, etc., so that we could be Makadosh the Chodesh. In which case, day 30 would be the first day of the next month, not the 30th day of the previous month. So what's the Seudas Ebur according to the Yad Ramah? So I'll read to you what I have here in the notes. He says, Rashi Sovish Osim Seudas Leil, the Leil Shloshim V'Echad, Ein HaSeifa, the fact that we got together 10 people, the Suda, Kidei La'ayin, according to Rashi, it's not for the purpose of let's gather together and try to determine something. We're not determining anything. It's day 31. La'ayin im tzrichin la'abra chodesh. Dari misasmim li'achar yom shloshim, on the night going to 31. So again, if they're getting together on the night of 31, then ein ha-sefer k'dei la'ayin im tzrich le'abra chodesh harei misasmim li'achar yom shloshim behefresh hachodesh yeh moleh. If day 30 is already passed, then the previous month is moleh. They weren't makadosh day 30. V'rosh chodesh yeh b'yom lamed aleph. U'misasmim b'leil lamed aleph k'dei lefarsem hadavar shehachodesh hu me'ubar. Rosh Chodesh yeh lemachas b'yom lamed aleph. It's very important to notify the public that day 31 is Rosh Chodesh. And that's because they were ma'aber the Chodesh on day 30. I'm not exactly sure why we need this Pearson. Do you gentlemen understand that? Day 31, by definition, if they didn't hear that, I guess not everybody knows that if they didn't hear anything, it means that it's Ma'ubar. The truth of the matter is that if they didn't hear anything, by definition, that means that they were not Makadosh the Chodesh on day 30, and the previous month is Mu'ubar. But they don't know. They don't know. I didn't hear about it. Maybe they were Ma'aber, maybe they were Makadosh the Chodesh on day 30, but I didn't hear about it. So basically, the Pirsum here is to publicize that we were not Ma'aber the previous, that we were Ma'aber the previous month. Because the people might think that they were Makadosh the day 30 and they didn't hear about it. So in order to clarify and convince them beyond the shadow of a doubt that they did not miss any information about Kiddush HaChodesh, but rather they were Ma'aber the Chodesh, for that they need a Pirsum, and that's going to take place on the night going into 31. And the message that's being sent out is, guess what? Today is Rosh Chodesh. You might have thought that yesterday was Rosh Chodesh. I'm telling you that tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh. Okay, but now we get to the Yad Ramah. Yad Ramah spirally, the Osim Seudas Ebur HaChodesh Yom Chavtes. So what are we saying? We're sending out a message of Ebur that this month is Ma'ubar. Maybe tomorrow Edom will come. Right, the night after 29 is, the day after 29 at night is 30. And maybe Edom will come and we'll be on Kaddish the day 30. V'lo yeh Chodesh Meubar. So how can you have a Seudas Ebur before you've determined whether the Chodesh is Meubar? On the night going to the 30, when tomorrow we might determine that that's Rosh Chodesh and it's not a Chodesh Meubar. Mikomakom, Myri, Shebezdin Ro, Al Pi Cheshbonom, Shachodesh Yeh Meubar. I guess because they've calculated the last couple of months, I don't know, the last 3 months or whatever it might be, they're already anticipating that this month is going to be Meubar. Based on the relationship between the solar calendar and the lunar calendar and so forth. I didn't get that impression from the Yad Ramah, that already at night they've determined that this is going to be a Chodesh Meubar. I thought we were waiting to see if Edom are going to come or not. So this is the shita of the Yad Ramah and Rabbeinu Chananah. The Yeshlomar, they'll leave it to Rabbeinu Chananah, Myri shemes asfin b'layla kodem alos hashachar. So we're going into day 30, but not at the beginning of the night, Motzei 29, but right before the daybreak of day 30. So let's say daybreak is at 6 a.m. They'll start the Suda at 5 a.m., but they'll extend the Suda into the day itself, beyond 6 a.m. Ubetoch HaSuda, during the course of this long banquet, Yesh Masu Mata. They're going to recheck, reevaluate, and investigate the information, the evidence that they have on their table. Hayim Yesh Li Abras HaChodesh Olah. Is it a good idea to determine that this month is Meubar? And that deliberation is going to take place during the course of this long Suda. Again, I still don't understand why there are 10 people at the Suda. But Masumat and Tzarchlios Biyom. So again, why do they have to get together at night before daybreak? If the Masumat, the decision and deliberation is only going to take place by day. Anybody have an answer to that question? Why is it so important that they start at night? I mean, the only answer I could give is that they want to urgently and quickly expedite the decision-making process and determine whether or not this is a Chodesh Me'ubar. So they want to gather together before day, start the Masu Matan, and then let's say an hour into the Masu Matan, when day breaks, they'll already have, or they'll be close to having a final decision. So the decision should be made as early as possible on day 30. Ulefi Rabbeinu Chananel ein hasuuda rak lepirsum. The word rak here indicates that there is an element of pirsum here, like Rashi says, but that doesn't exhaust the purpose and the goal of the Suda. El yeshbo masu matan, right? There's going to be an iyun, right? A determination back and forth as to whether or not we should be ma'aber the Chodesh. And that deliberation has to take place by day. Yesh bo masu matan, the koven bo mosa yerosh chodesh. Umikri Seudas Ebur mishum she'afal she'al pi cheshbonom. It sounds like the cards already stacked in favor of Ebur, because they already made a cheshbon that al pi cheshbonom ma'aber mesachodesh. Rabbeinu Chananel tzorch shetia suda bayom. Masechet Rashi da sudi dak lefirsum she'ibru HaChodesh. Osin es asuda b'layla. I think what he's saying is that if you're dealing with Masu Matan, then a Bezdin has to make a decision. That has to be by day. Bezdin functions exclusively by day. But if you're only doing this Aseifa for the purpose of Pirsum, then it can take place at night. And why delay it to the next morning, which is the morning of 31, according to Rashi, when you could do it the night before and already achieve the goal of Pirsum, so that the public realizes that day 30 belongs to the previous month. Because again, during the course of the Suda, there's Masu Matan. We want to get it done urgently, and that's why we're going to start at night. But again, it's not enough to have the Suda at night, because the purpose of the Suda is to have these deliberations, which can only take place by day. So the Suda is going to spill over into the day. But again, I still don't understand why you need 10 people at the Suda. Masha Enke Rashi. Da Seuda hi rak lepirsum she'ibru HaChodesh osim es hasuda b'layla. So from Rashi's perspective, that the Suda, the purpose of the Suda is just Pirsum. There's no reason why the Suda has to extend into the day. You can finish the Suda at night and accomplish the Pirsum. But again, it has to take place with 10 members of the Suda because that is the precondition for Pearson. So maybe we should go back to that word rak. Lefira ben Chanal ena seuda rak lePearson. In other words, why does Rabbeinu Chanal require that the Suda spill over into the morning? Because it's not just for the purpose of Pearson. But there is an element of Pearson even according to Rabbeinu Chanana. So I would say the following, that you don't need 10 people for the deliberation because that determination is made by a Bezdin and you can have 3 people on the Bezdin. So why do you need 10 lePearson? Because once that deliberation concludes and they're going to determine whether or not the previous month is Mu'ubar and today is the last day of the month, or whether or not the previous month is Chasr and today is the first day, the Rosh Chodesh of the new month, for that you need only 3. We're going to add the other 7 for the purpose of Pearson. So according to Rabbeinu Chananel, the Seudas Ebur has a twofold function. Number one, it's an aseifa for the sake of iyun, to figure out if but now the question is, if they're trying to determine whether or not the month is Mu'ubar, so how could they be Mefarsid it? You're already stacking the cards. So here's where Rabbeinu Chananel says we made a cheshbon based on, I guess, the previous months, and we already anticipate that this month is going to be Mu'ubar. So the fact that Beis Din are determining and deliberating, it sounds to me that that's only it's only because not everyone was clear about the cheshbon. There are a lot of different nuances and shikule adas, different factors that have to be weighed in order to determine that our cheshbon is correct and this should be a chodesh me'ubar. So we need deliberation for that. But if that be the case, then where's the element of Pearson come into play? So I think the answer is that the Pearson, by definition, has to come after the final determination. That's pasha. I mean, you can't publicize the decision until the decision has been made. But we want to publicize it immediately after the decision is made, and we want the final decision to be as early as possible. We'll gather the people before daybreak. They're already, gearing up for this deliberation. They'll continue into the daytime, and that's where they'll finally make a determination. And we already have 10 people, so once the determination is made, although we don't need 10 people for that determination, it will already have wings, it will fly, and it'll be public knowledge by virtue of the fact that there are 10 people there. Not bad. So again, just to summarize, according to Rashi, the purpose of the Suda is purely personal. According to Rashi, we understand why the Suda will take place at night and end at night. There's no deliberation. You don't need a yom. All of the deliberation was done on day 30. Now we're up to already the night of day 31. Then we're ready for person. We don't have to hesitate. According to Rabbeinu Chananel and the Yad Ramah, there's a twofold purpose to the Seudas Ebur. We need deliberation. We're talking about the night going into day 30. We're going to begin this Seuda, this Asefa, at the end of the night, because we have to spill over and bridge into the day because it's deliberation. We accomplished the Asefa already during the nighttime, but the end of the night, so that we now spill over, as I said, to the daytime. And at the conclusion of that deliberation, the word already is spreading throughout the land that the previous month was Me'uber. Now, I'm not sure exactly at what moment in time the Pearson element is achieved. If they start the suit at night, is there already a word going out that the Chodesh is moved? But if they haven't made that determination yet, maybe that's where Rabbeinu Chananel puts the emphasis on the Cheshbon. And that based on the Cheshbon, we already anticipate that it's going to be Ma'ubar. We have all the data, all the information that points in that direction. So although al pi halacha, you have to have a final decision after the Masul Matan and Bezdin, but as far as Pearson is concerned, we can rely on the cheshbon that they made, anticipating that this would be a Chodesh Me'ubar, in order to be Mefarsim. Then he writes the Ayin Barambam, Perek Gimel Milchus Kiddush HaChodesh Halacha Zayin. The Zel Shona. Shema Avrim Bezdin Es HaChodesh. Mibnei Shelo Bo Eidim Kol Yom Shloshim. Oh, very good. They waited the whole day Shloshim. No Eidim showed up. Vayu Olam L'Makom Muchan. The Osim Bo Seuda. Ah, this is Rashi sheet. So we're going to day 31. The Osim Bo Seuda B'Yom Echad U'Shloshim Shehu Rosh Chodesh. Wow. B'Yom Echad U'Shloshim. Meaning the Gemara said, the Brisa, or Ha'ibur, which implies that the suit is at night. But the Rama writes, B'Yom Echad U'Shloshim Shehu Rosh Chodesh. V'eina olam l'sham b'layla. Wow, the Ram is very explicit about this. We don't want this banquet, this party to start at night. El b'neshef kodem alos hashemesh. So I think when he says Ein Olam L'Sham B'Layla, it means in the middle of the night. Ella, but rather B'Neshev. Neshev means the end of the night. Kodem Alos HaShachar. But that sounds awfully similar to Rabbeinu Hananel, that we want the banquet to spill over into the day because the purpose of this banquet is deliberation, which has to take place at day. But the Rambam holds that we're already on Yom Echad Shloshim. Okay, let's see. Vaita ve'en olam l'suda zu pachos me'asorein olam la'el v'pas dagon v'kitnios v'ochlim v'es hasauda. I'm not sure exactly why the Rambam feels compelled to tell me that we have to eat the food. V'zui sudas mitzvah shel Ebur HaChodesh hamura b'chol makom. Oh, let's see if he's going to ask our question. U'lechara tzarich iyud. Right, when the night of the 31st, below bo edim kol yom shloshim. Im kein ein asuda k'dei l'kvoas yom lamed aleph l'rosh chodesh, because there were no edim to testify on the chodesh on day 30. Memela, day 31 is already rosh chodesh. You don't have to be kovei at day 31. El Asuda, he got with Pirsum, the Yom Lamed Aleph, Rosh Chodesh. People don't know it. In Kein Lama Ein Osim Sasuda, B'motzai Yom Lamed, in other words, why does the Ram require that the Suda spill over into the morning, into the day? That would reflect Shittas Rabbeinu Hananel, that we need the Masul Matan. But the Ram is already past day 30, so they've already determined that day 30 is the previous month is Ma'ubar. So why does the Ram demand that the Suda take place by day? Maybe the Rambam holds that there's halach of Pirsum, that in the context of Pirsum, you require day. Word doesn't spread at night. I don't know. Let's see what he says. The lama sover Ram sha'osim sasuda biyom lamed aleph. Yesh lomar the Ramam ozil l'shitaso. Okay, this is something different. The sphere leidim bo edim shemeidim sharos achore eschidish alavona bizmana is Makachim Esachodesh L'Mafreya. The Yom Lamed Nia Rosh Chodesh. Ayin Raman Perek Yomul Hilchos Kiddush HaChodesh. So again, there's a possibility that there'll be Makadosh L'Chodesh L'Mafreya, and the 30th day becomes Rosh Chodesh. Okay, but that's not the case that the Rambam is dealing with. The Rambam is dealing with the case where there were no Eidim. In Kei Tachek Shiyovo Eidim B'Yom Lamed Aleph, the historical Lekadesh Zachodesh L'Mafreya, the Yom Lamed. Oh, I see. The Rambam has a very strange possibility. The Eidim could come on day 31 and testify about day 30. So their appearance in Beis Din was delayed by a day, for whatever reason. Maybe they were coming from Dan or Beersheba. And by the time they got there, it was Yom Lamed Aleph, and Beis Din has the power, based on their testimony, that they saw the Levana yesterday, to Makadesh Yom Lamed as Rosh Chodesh L'Mafreya. We're up to Lamed Aleph, but yesterday was already Rosh Chodesh. Today is the second day of the month. V'imkei yitachem sheyavo eidim b'yom Lamed Aleph. So a Ram she'osim es hasuda b'yom. So again, the purpose of the Suda, like Rashi, according to the Rambam, is le pirsume milsa. But they have to wait until the day, and the Suda has to take place by day, because of what? The possibility that Eidim might come? He says, Eidim might come, Yavo Eidim b'yom Lamed Aleph. So what does it mean Yom Lamed Aleph? During the whole course of Yom Lamed Aleph. So now it's the morning of Yom Lamed Aleph. The Yikadshu es HaChodesh L'Mafreya Yom Lamed. I don't get it. If the Rambam is worried about the possible scenario in which the Edom will come on Lamed Aleph and testify that they saw the moon yesterday, and will be Makadesh Lamed as Rosh Chodesh L'Mafreya, which is interesting. I don't know about Hallel and all the tefillos and everything. I don't know but in any event, that's the Rambam Shita. So therefore, the Su'ud has to take place by day on Lamed Aleph. But I don't get it. If you're anticipating the possibility of Edom showing up on Lamed Aleph, then what good is it that you had the Suda by day of Lamed Aleph, unless they ate the Suda throughout the entire day, which I don't think. To that point, I don't understand. Okay, we'll stop here. And again, I'm going to try to cheshbon out where we can highlight sugyas in Ben Sorer Morer for the next year. So I want to wish everyone a meaningful fast and a tefillah, as always, that we should be zocheh to the binyan based on this.